Have you ever looked out the window with your coffee in hand, wondering what happened to the closeness you used to share with your child? Maybe they moved away, emotionally or physically, or maybe things just drifted over time. And then one day, they come back. Not always with a suitcase. Sometimes with a phone call. Sometimes just more texts or Sunday visits. Other times it's big. They move back in after a divorce, a financial setback, or just because life threw them a curveball. And in that moment, your world shifts again. Now what? You've built a life. Maybe it's quieter than it used to be. Maybe it's exactly how you like it. Peaceful, orderly, your own. But when your child returns, whether temporarily or with no set date in sight, it can bring up all kinds of emotions. Relief maybe. Joy. But also confusion. Anxiety. And if we're being honest, maybe a little resentment or fear. That's okay. Those feelings are part of being human. So let's talk about what to do when that door opens again and your child walks back through it. This isn't just about how to set house rules or how many groceries to buy. It's deeper than that. It's about you, your heart, your peace of mind, and your sense of self. And it's also about them, who they are now, what they might be carrying, and how both of you can navigate this next chapter with love and dignity. The first thing to do is take a breath. Before the hugs, before the practical talk, before the assumptions, pause. Because whether it's been 2 years or 20, the person walking through your door is not the same person who left. And neither are you. They may be your child, yes. But they're also a full-grown adult, likely weathered by life in ways you haven't seen. They've made mistakes, maybe even some that hurt you. But the fact that they're back means something. Maybe they trust you. Maybe they need you. Or maybe they just don't know where else to go. But if you meet them with calm, not judgment, not immediate fixing, you'll lay the foundation for everything that comes next. Now, once the dust settles and that first "I'm back" moment fades into normal days again, here's something else to remember. It's not your job to rescue them. That might sound harsh, especially if your heart is wired like so many loving parents, to help, to fix, to sacrifice. But when we take on too much, we end up carrying weight that isn't ours. And we rob our children of the chance to learn, to grow, to rebuild. Support is beautiful. But enabling? That's something different. If your child's back because of a mistake, a divorce, debt, addiction, a broken dream, let them own their story. Let them carry their lessons. You don't need to reparent a grown adult. You just need to love them wisely. And loving wisely sometimes means having boundaries. It's one of those words that used to sound cold, didn't it? Boundaries. Like walls. But really, they're the opposite. They keep love healthy. They keep the air breathable. If your child is staying with you, you're allowed to say what you're comfortable with. Maybe you need quiet in the evenings. Maybe you want help with dishes or bills. Maybe you need them to treat your home with the same respect you give theirs. That's not asking too much. That's just being clear. Think of boundaries like the fences in a garden. They don't shut people out. They just help things grow without being trampled. Now here's something else to consider, and it's especially important if the relationship hasn't always been smooth. Don't try to solve everything right away. There's a temptation, when a child comes back, to fix the past, to bring up old fights, to ask questions you've been holding in for years. But timing matters. Sometimes they're not ready. Sometimes you're not ready. And trying to unpack all the old baggage before you've even had a chance to settle into the new rhythm can leave everyone feeling worse. Instead, lead with presence, not pressure. Take walks together. Cook a meal. Watch a show. Let comfort build again before trying to fix what went wrong. Some conversations will come naturally in time. Others may never come, and that's okay too. Healing isn't always about talking. Sometimes it's just about showing up again and again with a softer heart than the one you left the last fight with. There's also a truth that's hard to face, but I want to say it gently. Just because they're back doesn't mean they're staying. And that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes your home is a launching pad, not a landing place. And if that's the case, be proud. It means they trust your strength as a springboard. It means you gave them something stable enough to return to. But no matter how long they're back, a week, a year, forever, remember that your identity is still your own. You're not just mom or dad or grandma again. You are a person, with routines, dreams, perhaps even quiet joys that you've nurtured during their absence. Don't abandon those now. Don't put your life on pause just because they hit rewind. Invite them in, yes, but don't disappear in the process. So maybe your child is sleeping in the guest room again. Maybe they're leaving dishes in the sink. Maybe you're learning to dance around each other's habits. It's okay to feel overwhelmed, but it's also okay to feel grateful. Some parents never get a second chance at connection. Some never get to see their children again after they leave. So if this season is a little chaotic, but you're sharing space again, there's beauty in that too. And if you feel like you're tiptoeing around old wounds, remember this: patience is not weakness. It's wisdom. And you, my friend, have earned yours the hard way. Every wrinkle, every scar, every quiet victory you've carried, it's brought you here. You are strong enough to do this with grace. Not perfection, just grace. Let's keep going. Because there's more to talk about. More ways to navigate this new chapter with clarity, kindness, and confidence. When your child comes back, it isn't just about making space in your home. It's about making space in your heart without losing yourself in the process. And that is just the beginning. Now that life under one roof is beginning to settle, a quiet truth might start to surface. The dynamic has changed, and it should. You're not parenting a teenager anymore. You're interacting with another adult. But old patterns have a way of creeping back in. Maybe you catch yourself over-explaining, over-worrying, or feeling responsible for their moods. Or maybe they fall into old habits, expecting you to cook, clean, or carry emotional burdens that aren't yours anymore. This is where self-awareness becomes your greatest tool. Not just for them, for you. Because whether you realize it or not, you've grown too. You've weathered heartaches, built resilience, and learned how to live on your own terms. That doesn't go out the window just because your child is back in your home. So, instead of slipping back into the parent-child roles from years ago, try something new. See them as a guest in your life, not just your baby coming home. Respect flows both ways. And when you model that, speaking with calm, setting boundaries without guilt, treating your time as valuable, it sends a message louder than any lecture. It says, I love you and I respect myself. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to replace reaction with reflection. If they forget to clean up, don't snap. If they're distant or short-tempered, don't take it personally. These moments aren't about you. They're about what they're carrying. Instead of reacting with frustration, try a softer approach. A simple, hey, are you okay today? Opens the door without pressure. And if they don't walk through it, that's all right too. You're not responsible for fixing them. You're responsible for showing up with compassion. But don't confuse compassion with silence. If something is bothering you, speak it. Kindly, clearly, and early. Don't let resentment build. That old habit of biting your tongue to keep the peace, it usually backfires. It turns into quiet tension that weighs on the whole house. And eventually, it explodes over something small, like a wet towel on the floor or a forgotten promise. Instead, speak up before your patience runs dry. I love having you here, but I need quiet in the mornings. Or, let's figure out how we can both contribute around the house so it doesn't fall on me. It's not about demanding, it's about inviting them to be part of your life, not just live beside it. And that brings me to something especially important for folks in our stage of life. Don't lose your rhythm. When your child returns, your routine may feel interrupted. Suddenly there's more noise, more dishes, more opinions in the kitchen. It's easy to let go of the little things that brought you peace before. Your walks, your journaling, your afternoon nap, your phone calls with old friends. But don't. Those things are you. And just because someone else needs space doesn't mean you surrender yours. It's okay to say, I'm going to my book club tonight, or this is my quiet hour, we'll talk after. It might feel awkward at first, especially if you're used to putting everyone else's needs first. But I'll tell you this, honoring your routine sets the tone. It shows your child that you still value your time, and it encourages them to value it too. That's not selfish. That's self-care. And at our age, it's more important than ever. Now here's something many parents struggle with but few talk about. Grief over what you hoped would be. Maybe you thought your child would be settled by now. Maybe you pictured them with a family, a stable career, or living a life they used to talk about with stars in their eyes. And now they're back, lost, struggling, maybe even ashamed. And part of you hurts. Not because they're here, but because something in you feels like you failed. You didn't. Let me say that again. You didn't fail. Life is not a straight path, for them or for you. And your child's struggles are not a reflection of your parenting. They are a reflection of life. We all stumble. We all circle back. Sometimes home is the only safe place to start again. So if you find yourself feeling disappointed, sad, or unsure, that's okay. You're allowed to feel all of that. But don't stay there. Don't sit in guilt. Sit in grace. You raised a human being who trusts you enough to return. That's not failure. That's love. And if your child has made mistakes, serious ones, ones that hurt others or even you, it's okay to feel conflicted. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace over punishment. It means saying, I see you. I see your pain. And I'm still here. That doesn't mean erasing boundaries or allowing disrespect. It means standing firm in love, even when love feels complicated. You might not get the apology you want. You might never fully understand their choices. But you can still choose how you show up. You can still choose to walk through this season with your dignity intact and your heart open, not wide open, but open enough. And if this chapter brings you closer, beautiful. If it challenges you, that's okay too. Growth doesn't always feel good right away. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. But in that discomfort is something sacred, a chance to know each other again, not as parent and child, but as people. The truth is, your child's return isn't just about them rebuilding. It's about you rediscovering. Rediscovering your strength, your voice, your space, and maybe even the joy in unexpected second chances. And even if things never look exactly how you imagined, they can still be meaningful, still be real, still be worth it. So, as you navigate these days, with all their messiness, beauty, and mystery, take it one day at a time. You don't need all the answers. You just need patience, presence, and a little bit of faith. Let's keep going. We're not done yet. Sometimes the most surprising part of your child coming back isn't what they need from you. It's what you learn about yourself. You realize just how much you've changed, how much peace you've come to cherish, how much strength you've built quietly in the stillness of your own life. You realize that even if you weren't always sure you were doing the right thing as a parent, you created a space safe enough for them to return to. And that means something. But even with all that wisdom, it's still easy to fall into the old rhythm of giving too much. Maybe you notice yourself putting their needs first again, skipping your doctor's appointment, canceling lunch with your neighbor, picking up after them, or even walking on eggshells so they don't feel judged. It happens. But here's the thing. You don't have to sacrifice your well-being to support someone else. In fact, the more you take care of yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, the better you'll show up for them and for yourself. If they're in a tough place, be kind, But don't carry what's not yours. You can listen without fixing. You can help without enabling. You can love deeply without losing yourself. That's not just healthy, it's powerful. Especially at this chapter of life, when your time, your energy, your peace, they're more valuable than ever. And if your child is thriving and doing well while they're back, celebrate it. Let go of old judgments. Let them show you who they are now. Sometimes, when children return, they come with new perspectives, new ideas, even new beliefs that might not match the ones you raised them with. That can feel jarring. But it can also be a gift, a chance to see them not as an extension of you, but as a whole person in their own right. Curiosity will take you further than criticism ever could. So ask them about their life, their hopes, their struggles. Not like an interrogation, but like a friend pulling up a chair. You don't have to agree on everything to stay connected. You just have to keep the door open. And if a conversation gets tough, pause, breathe, come back to it later. Some bridges take time to rebuild, and that's okay. Love doesn't always move in straight lines. There's also beauty in letting them help you. You don't have to be the strong one all the time. Let them cook you a meal. Let them pick up groceries or drive you to the store. Let them hear your stories, not because they're in trouble, but because they're worth sharing. That's how you build mutual respect, not from lectures, but from life shared in small ways. And sometimes, even just laughing together again can soften years of tension. A shared memory, a favorite dish, a walk around the block. These little moments can mend more than big talks ever could. If you find yourself smiling again with them, let yourself enjoy it. You've earned that joy. But if the challenges feel bigger than you can manage, don't be afraid to get support. There's no shame in talking to a counselor or joining a support group, even at 60, 70, or beyond. Sometimes it helps just to say, "This is hard," and to hear someone else say, "I've been there too." You're not alone in this. So many families are navigating what it means when grown kids return. It's not always easy, but you don't have to carry it all in silence. And while we're here, let me say this clearly. It's okay to let them go again. Sometimes your child comes back, heals a little, finds their footing, and then leaves once more. And that can stir up old aches, abandonment, rejection, fear, but it can also be a sign of growth. It means they're finding their path again. It means you gave them a soft place to land, and now they're ready to fly. Let that be a source of pride, not pain. You're not losing them. You're releasing them, again, with love. And you're reminding yourself that no matter how old your child gets, you still get to grow too. Now, before we end, I want to speak straight to your heart. You are not just the backdrop to someone else's life. You are the author of your own. Whether your child stays a while or just passes through for a season, your story continues. Don't put it on pause, waiting for things to be perfect. Keep planting joy. Keep chasing peace. Keep becoming. You're not too old for new boundaries, new habits, even new dreams. And you're certainly not too old to heal, even from wounds that have been there for decades. Sometimes a return brings up more than memories. It stirs the parts of you that still need love. So give it, not just to them, but to you, because you deserve it. And if today you're doing your best to love a child who came back with baggage, with hurt, or with big gaps between you, I want you to know this: your effort matters. Your grace matters. And your presence is a gift they may not fully understand until years from now. But one day, they will. And so, from one heart to another, thank you for showing up, for loving deeply, and for staying grounded in who you are, even as everything around you changes. If this message spoke to you today, I hope you'll share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, has your child ever returned home? What helped you the most? What was hardest? I read every word, and your stories are what make this space so special. If you found value in this conversation, I'd love for you to click that like button and subscribe to Strong Elderly Life. We're building a community here, one where wisdom is shared, burdens are lightened, and everyone knows they still matter. Here's to living your best life, with love, with courage, and with grace, at any age. Stay strong.